This game is a work of fiction, says Ubisoft at the outset of this espionage opus. Any similarity to real or historical events is purely coincidental. Gee, thanks for the disclaimer, Slick. Might have confused it with all the geriatric super spies doing ninja flips off walls in real fucking life. Sure, I used that joke on Twitter, but it's my joke and fuck you, I'll do what I want. Now, before we progress to the actual viscera of the review, allow me to feed the starving pachyderm affixed to the center of the room. The voice. It sucks, people. It sucks exceptionally hard, in fact. Replacing Michael Ironside with a 10-year-old we've never heard of from a TV show we've never watched is like Motorhead replacing Lemmy with Robin fucking Thicke, or like, I don't know, replacing Stephen Russell as Garrett in the Thief series with some bargain basement Montreal local with an accent an inch thicker than the lead designer's skull and shouting down any and all criticism of his subpar somnolent performance thereafter, but now I'm just talking crazy. To clarify, Eric Johnson's vocal performance doesn't suck merely because he isn't Michael Ironside. It sucks because it's lifeless, generic, and utterly devoid of subtext or dramatic nuance, which comes into particularly sharp focus when the player engages in phone conversations with Sam's daughter, Sarah, who at this point sounds about 5 years older than he does. But it also isn't entirely the new actor's fault. Michael Ironside was done with Splinter Cell. Full stop. And after enduring the cacophony of Fox Network primetime drama cliché that comprised the plot of Splinter Cell Conviction, what rational human being could possibly blame him? To hear him tell it, he was collecting a paycheck and faxing in his performance as early as Chaos Theory, leaving the project as a prerogative he's more than earned. But this kid? He ain't Sam Fisher. He never will be Sam Fisher. So why ham-fist his crew-cut bedecked ass into a role he will never be accepted in? The co-op campaigns featured in the last 4 fucking games have illustrated that Sam Fisher is far from the only operative with his particular skill set. Let a new hero emerge. Why milk poor Sam like the only goat on the dairy farm? Roll up your sleeves, dust off your mottled tome of spy film tropes, and motherfucking create! The first thing you will notice in Blacklist is lens flare. Lens flare everywhere. A car's headlights, an enemy's headset, Sam Fisher's hairline. If it can even remotely be construed as a light source, then it is already wreathed in a linear flare, the likes of which invariably obscure no less than 1/5 of the fucking screen. Because reasons. As the absolute first order of business, it is your right, nay, your duty as a cognizant, fully evolved Homo sapien life form to hit the select button, head it on over to the options menu, and turn tutorial messages the fuck off. I'm all for being inclusive, but when I'm perpetually dodging insightful chestnuts like, when you're hidden, bad guys can't see you, yeah, die the fuck today, Ubisoft. And on the subject of bad guys, increased enemy variety after Conviction's torpid typhoon of interchangeable rent-a-cops is a very welcome development. Unfortunately, this also left the door open for some aspiring neurosurgeon at Ubisoft to bring canine enemies back into the fold, with every last one of the design problems they invariably generate in tow. Ubisoft, I have watched my dog stand mystified before a mirror, utterly convinced the identical dog in the mirror in front of him is all that's preventing him from entering the other hallway. I've seen him completely disregard the mailman, yet erupt into barking fits over a howling bloodhound on Animal Planet. Dogs can hear shit, dogs can see shit, given the time and opportunity, they can even eat shit. They can neither hear nor smell shit from an adjacent fucking landmass. You're not thinking of a dog, you're thinking of Daredevil. As long as I've had to wait for a proper Daredevil video game, I think we'd all still prefer it if he didn't debut with 4 legs, snipped off balls, and a propensity for fucking my calf. Canine precognition aside, in many ways the ingredients for 5-star stealth 'em up are present and accounted for with the return of franchise and genre hallmarks such as the hiding of bodies, sprawling multifaceted maps, and wonder of wonders, even full-on fucking ghosting. In practice, however, each one of these elements has been shorn to a dull fucking nub in a mortifying process that results in the complete removal of any and all of its original character and subtlety. Sure, they brought back loadout customization, even enhanced it by ripping more than a few frayed pages from the Gospel according to Alpha Protocol, but when you really analyze the little details and how these systems function, it becomes nakedly apparent that Ubisoft is still living into the idea of having the remotest inkling of a fucking clue. Little details like how you can press against a wall for cover but can no longer stand up after doing so, how you can take human shields shields but can't initiate interrogations without it being part of some ingratiating pre-scripted event.
I'm not making the same mistakes again.
No, you're making all new ones.
In older Splinter Cell titles, see also the ones that actually fucking sold, every element of play seemed devoted to one unifying principle, that it was the player, not Sam Fisher himself, who was the star of the game. In Conviction, the Montreal studio wrested control from the player's hands and proceeded to drunkenly teabag the player for 7 hours, but in Blacklist, they reluctantly begin to sober up, surrendering a fractional measure of control as a gift and a peace offering. What you learn over the course of Urgent Walking the video game...
The engineers left out a breadcrumb trail of false information.
This sent us running into a minefield.
Let's hope the DevGru team's found something.
You should be back by now.
You're selling out that bill, Josh?
No.
There's a situation on the treaty.
Situation?
On the treaty.
A treaty situation. I dated a hooker. You'll sense important things are happening because there's lots of urgent walking and political jargon. And you'll feel smarter having watched that than Full House reruns, that's for sure.
Is that you should have asked for the fucking receipt. And lamentably, the aforementioned gameplay overhaul comes at the expense of arguably the single most crucial attribute of any successful video game, and that, my friend, is a little ditty by the name of consistency. When I push B, Mega Man shoots a white ball out of his fucking arm cannon. When I push L2, Solid Snake cycles through his item inventory. To put a finer point on it, if the game devotes entire swaths of time to hammering home the concept that depressing the circle button causes Sam to dismount from a ledge, then by God, pushing circle had better disengage my ass from the goddamn ledge. Oh no, you see, Sam Fisher's too far from the ground here. He can only drop from that height if he's crushing a man's skull in the process. No, you condescending simp. If circle is what makes me drop, then let me fucking drop. If it's too far from the ground, I'll probably acquire a fucking clue around the time, I don't know, my ankles simultaneously compound fracture? Welcome to basic problem solving, ass face. Quit leading me around by my earlobes like a fucking 7-year-old. The level design vacillates manically between marginally impressive and inspired to among the worst I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. Forays into Iraq and Afghanistan are compelling, but then the Paraguay villa shambles through the doorway in an inebriated stupor reeking of syphilitic slatch and shame, as if it were slapped haphazardly together as a refresher course in how to do absolutely everything wrong. On that subject, may I just say that Ubisoft checkpoints do not fucking work in stealth games, ever! Literally, the only thing wrong with Pandora Tomorrow is its checkpoint-based save system, a problem your own studio acknowledged by allowing the player to save anywhere in Chaos Theory Double Agent and the HD re-release of the first 2 games. Stop unlearning from your own past mistakes. Can you imagine if car manufacturers operated by Ubisoft logic? Yeah, sure, we could slap a fuel-efficient hybrid V6 on this puppy, but I think I'd rather the new Maserati ran on fucking coal power. Checkpoints? Arbitrary item limits? Not to sound like your AA sponsor, but I thought we were past this shit. Given the gameplay overhaul and renewed focus on stealth, it's now abundantly clear that Ubisoft Montreal is fully aware of the mistakes they made with Conviction, yet bafflingly decided to make most of them all over again. Ergo, you leave me little choice but to dub the Splinter Cell Backslide. I'm RazörFist. God fucking speed.